Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And tonight's Raw was held from the Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. And we are 2 weeks away from WrestleMania, and it's coming fast. But tonight's Raw, I thought it was a shitty show. I thought it was that bad of a show tonight. And there was some stuff, I liked, but everything else was just, I'll get to it though. But the show opened up with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman coming out. Paul Heyman shows footage from last week when Lesnar, took out Roman. Heyman ends up saying the suspension of Roman has been lifted. And he goes on to say that Roman is not here for Raw tonight. And Heyman goes on to say, Roman, isn't man enough to show up to Raw tonight, to take another beating from Lesnar. And he also says at WrestleMania, Roman will not be man enough to take away the Universal title from Lesnar. And then we just see, just like last week, Roman comes through the crowd and he ends up picking up a chair, but Lesnar comes and takes him out, just like last week. And Roman then tosses Lesnar into the post, and he ends up hitting the chair to, hitting, chair shots to Lesnar. And Roman then goes to hit a Superman punch to Lesnar, but Lesnar ends up catching him. Suplexes him on the outside. Lesnar then takes the steps and launches it at Roman. Lesnar ends up tossing the steps in the ring, pretty much throwing it into the ring. Then Lesnar then takes the chair and hits Roman with it, just like last week. This was just a Xerox. This was just a copy of what we saw last week. And so Lesnar ends up coming back in, after Lesnar was, hitting Roman with the chair, just like last week. He goes out of the ring. He ends up coming back, not finished with Roman. And, he comes back in, hits an F5 on Roman onto the steps, which Roman sold it pretty well. He sold it pretty good. And that pretty much ended the segment. But it was just the same. It was just the same thing that we saw last week with Lesnar, hitting Roman with the chair, to the back. We saw it last week, so it was pretty much a copy. It was pretty much a copy of what happened last week. So that was your opening to Raw tonight. So first match. It was Nia Jax versus Mickie James. Mickie James came out to Alexa Bliss's music because Alexa was out there during the match. But the match itself, pretty much a typical women's match. Nothing special about it. It was a filler match. But Nia ended up getting the win with the Samoan drop to Mickie James. Mickie James was on the top turnbuckle, and Nia ended up picking her up and then giving her the Samoan drop. So Nia ends up winning the match. Then after the match, Alexa ends up coming in, elbows Nia, but Nia wasn't taking the elbow, it didn't phase her, and Alexa ended up running out of the ring. And Nia was like, "Oh, at WrestleMania, you're mine, bitch." She ends up calling Alexa a bitch. So, but all in all, it was just, a typical women's match. It was just a filler match. Then we had a cruiserweight match. We haven't had the cruiserweights on Raw in a while because from what I heard, 205 Live still isn't doing that great on the network. Even though Triple H took over for 205 Live, he has control of it, and it's still not doing well. I enjoy 205 Live, and I like this whole tournament. If you watch 205 Live, which probably you all probably don't, but they're actually doing a tournament, and the tournament will conclude at WrestleMania to see which of the cruiserweights will win and become the new cruiserweight champion at WrestleMania. So, but it was a tag team match tonight. It was Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali versus TJP and Drew Gulak. This was an okay match. This was a pretty decent match. Cedric Alexander, one of my favorites on the cruiserweights. I hope he wins the cruiserweight title at WrestleMania because he really deserves it. Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali won the match. So, but all in all, it was an okay match. Thought it was decent. And then we had the Miz come out. He was doing Miz TV. He was in his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, and then he was like, "Oh, I live in Los Angeles." I'm like, "No, duh, you live in Los Angeles, but you're from Cleveland, Ohio," and that's pretty much part of his, part of his character. So, but Miz says to Curtis and Bo, how do they think this whole Miztourage is going? And Miz says, he can't count on them because he's been let down by them because they both let him down. They both left him in the ring down because they haven't they pretty much haven't helped Miz. Miz is thinking Curtis and Bo hasn't helped him. And so Seth Rollins ends up coming out, says Miz TV is terrible television. And he says to Miz that the Miztourage are feeling underappreciated. And he ends up saying to Miz that Miz should thank Curtis and Bo because without them, he wouldn't be Intercontinental Champion. And so Bo says, something, to Miz, I think he said, Miz is a guy who can't fight, and that really ticked off Miz. Finn Balor ends up coming out and says, that Miz needs, his help, and Bo says, Miz is a phony, a loser, which ticked off Miz even more. And Miz then pushes Bo, and he says all him and Curtis and Bo need to do is focus on the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. And Miz ends up saying he will be better. He will be a better Intercontinental Champion than Randy Savage, Macho Man Randy Savage, Shawn Michaels, and also Mr. Perfect, which pretty much pissed off Curtis Axel a little bit, because Mr. Perfect, may he rest in peace. He's Curtis Axel's father. So that kind of pissed off Curtis. And then Miz, we saw him try to get out of the ring, but both Curtis and Bo blocked him from getting out of the ring. Thinking, that, the Miztourage was gonna, break up from Miz and split away from Miz. And then the Miztourage, Curtis and Bo end up attacking Seth and Finn. So we all got swerved, thinking that, the Miztourage was going to, get away from Miz. And no, pretty much they end up attacking Seth and Finn. Gallows and Anderson end up coming out. They take out Curtis and Bo. And Finn hits a sling blade on Miz. Seth was going for the curb stomp, or as they would call it, a stomp. But Miz ends up rolling out of the ring. Then we saw Finn go after Seth. to pretty much end the the segment. But segment I thought was boring when it began, but when Seth and Finn came out, it was okay. So then we had Kane cutting a promo saying to Cena that there are some demons that don't want to be called out, and he must suffer. Cena must suffer for his regression, and he ends up saying that Cena is not going to WrestleMania, and tonight he's going straight to hell. That was Kane's promo. And we also had tonight a video package with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. We see them working out for their match against Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. So it was a pretty cool video package with them. And then after Kane's promo, we had Asuka versus a jobber. This jobber's name was Jamie Frost. Pretty much it was a squash match. It was nothing. So Asuka beat her in like 1 minute. Asuka beat her with a kick. So pretty much nothing match, squash match. And then Matt Hardy ended up cutting a promo about how Bray Wyatt, is no more, and that, the Great War is finally over between him and Bray Wyatt. And then he enters himself into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So Matt Hardy's going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania. So that's going to be pretty cool to see Matt Hardy in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And sorry about that, but after the Matt Hardy promo, we saw Bayley and Sasha backstage. Bayley says, she's entering the WrestleMania women's Battle Royal, and it's just a bicker back and forth between Bayley and Sasha. Bayley says to Sasha that Sasha kept on screwing her over, and that she tells Sasha that Sasha can't beat her, can't beat Bayley, and it sets up Sasha end up beating up on Bayley. It was just a brawl between the both of them, and this is pretty much Sasha heel turn, my opinion, just by looking at that, just by seeing what happened tonight between the both of them. And it was a decent backstage segment. At least we got to see the both of them end up brawling, and pretty much a Sasha heel turn right there. So then we had Braun Strowman versus Sheamus. This was a decent match. I really liked this match. Before the match even starts, Cesaro and Sheamus come out. They say to Braun that they want to know who Braun's tag team partner is going to be at WrestleMania. And Braun says his partner will be revealed when he beats Sheamus. Sorry about that, but I was saying Braun says his partner will be revealed when he beats Sheamus. But and the match started, and like I said, the match was decent. I really liked the match. Strowman, for maybe like 90% of the match, was dominating through the match. Sheamus tried his best to take down the big guy, but it was all Strowman. Strowman ended up getting the win with the power slam to Sheamus. So, but still nothing revealed. Still nothing revealed. They reveal who Strowman's tag team partner was going to be. But, you know, it's 2 weeks away until WrestleMania. So either Strowman has to announce who his tag team partner will be next week on Raw, or they're going to wait till maybe a surprise tag team partner at WrestleMania. You know, keep it a surprise. But who knows? But all in all, it was a decent match. Really liked this match. And then we had Kurt Angle end up coming out, you know, saying that we are 2 weeks away until WrestleMania and 2 weeks until Stephanie and Triple H meet him and Ronda, you know, in their match. Ronda Rousey ends up coming out. Kurt tells, you know, her if she's ready for, you know, she's ready for WrestleMania. Kurt ends up saying, you know, their match at WrestleMania is not going to be easy, and Ronda ends up saying to him, you know, she likes that, you know, this match, that their match is not going to be easy, and, you know, she's ready to take on Stephanie, and, you know, she says that she is going to rip her arm out of her socket, rip Stephanie's arm out of her socket. And then we had Absolution come out. Absolution comes out. Paige gets on the mic saying to Ronda that, you know, this is their show. And Paige says, you know, the ring is her house. And Paige tries to get, you know, Ronda an offer for them, you know, to watch, you know, for the three of them to watch Ronda's back. And, you know, Ronda says, you know, she doesn't want the offer because she has, you know, Kurt. And Paige ends up, you know, saying, you know, to Ronda, you know, why don't you become the fourth member of Absolution? Ronda says, you know, she doesn't want to be, you know, the fourth member of Absolution. And Paige goes, oh, you made the, you know, some, you know, you made mistakes right now. And so Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose get in there. Mandy Rose tries to strike Ronda, but Kurt ends up stopping her. Ronda ends up clotheslining Sonya. Then she ends up throwing Mandy into Sonya, just, you know, like what the move that she did to Stephanie, which was kind of like, sort of looked like a Samoan drop. So that's what Ronda did with Mandy. She ended up throwing Mandy into Sonya. And then Ronda then goes to try and break Mandy Rose's arm, but Kurt ends up backing her off, you know, from breaking Mandy Rose's arm. So, I mean, segment and all, it was okay. Sorry again, but the match, not the match, the segment was okay. With Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey, and Absolution. And then we had Gallows and Anderson versus the Miztourage. This match was pretty much filler. Wasn't that great of a match. But Gallows and Anderson ended up winning the match with the Magic Killer on Curtis Axel. So it was pretty much a filler match. Not that good of a match. Then we had Elias was out. Oh, great. I'm like, oh, great. Which was very boring. It was boring. He's out there singing about Cleveland and trashing the city. You know, he was trashing the city, just singing. Also singing about WrestleMania. It was boring. Then Elias. It was Elias versus Rhyno. Boring match, very shitty match. Elias ended up winning with the drift away. After the match, Elias ended up kicking Slater. He ended up hitting Heath Slater with the drift away also. So that was that. Very shitty match. And then we had the main event, which was John Cena versus Kane in a no disqualification match. And this match, it was a decent main event. I really enjoyed this main event. It was back and forth between Cena and Kane. Cena did his best to take out Kane. He tried to do with the elbows that he would do before he would slam him and do, you can't see me. And tables were used. You had Cena go through a table, and Cena won the match. He ended up putting Kane through the table with the attitude adjustment to score the win. And then after the match, Cena ends up calling out Taker, saying, where is he? And he ends up calling Taker a coward because nothing happened. Because he wanted something to happen. He wanted the bells to go off. He wanted the lights to go off, and a lightning bolt to strike. But no, we didn't get that. But Cena ends up telling Taker to do something, and Cena says, Taker only cares for himself, and he pretty much ends up, leaving the ring, walking up the ramp, and then he does Cena, does the what Taker does, with the where Taker does, that famous move that he does. So that pretty much ended Raw tonight. But match between between Cena and Kane, it was decent. There was at one point there was in the Gallows and Anderson match with the Miztourage when when Gallows and Anderson won, the lights actually dimmed for like a second, meaning are they testing if maybe that Taker is going to be here tonight? But nope, Taker did not show up tonight. But who knows if he'll show up next week on Raw, or he's gonna wait until WrestleMania. Maybe there's going to be a twist to this. Cena will probably be at WrestleMania just as a fan, and then maybe the gongs for Taker will play, and then maybe we'll have the match at WrestleMania. Sort of that twist where like I said, Cena's just going as a fan to WrestleMania, and then Taker's there. And then, they would have their match. But who knows what will happen. Hopefully, Taker shows up next week on Raw. But who knows? We'll have to wait till next Monday. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully Taker shows up. So, yeah. So anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you all back here tomorrow night for my SmackDown review and also my review of the Mixed Match Challenge. So, until that video, I'll see you all back here tomorrow night.